Today's topic is the industrialization of confidence projection. Welcome to Campfire Stories. I am your host, a cartoon version of myself, Paolo Loriano, since the flesh and bones version looks terrible while recovering from a motorcycle accident and is unable to get to my home studio in the basement. It's not a bad deal. The cartoon version has a nice campfire by a lake, so gather around and let's have a conversation about how harmful to society social networks truly are. Let's talk about something weird that's happening right now. We're going to dive into how this tiny psychological quirk, a little bug that we all have, has been taken by social media, put on a massive assembly line, and scaled up into a huge system-wide problem. This is the story of how confidence got industrialized. So have you ever noticed this? Really noticed it? You're scrolling online, or maybe you're just talking to someone, and the person with the absolute strongest, most black and white opinion is the one who seems to know the least about the topic. It's maddening, right? Well, it turns out there's a very real scientific reason that happens. Okay, so to really get what's going on at this massive scale today, we have to go back to the beginning. We need to look at the source code, at the little bug in our own psychological wiring that makes all of this possible in the first place. And here it is. It's a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Psychologists figured this out way back in 1999. And the idea is, well, it's kind of a catch-22. To know that you're bad at something, you actually need the very skills you're missing. So your own incompetence literally robs you of the ability to see how incompetent you are. This means the people who know the least don't just have a knowledge gap, they have a giant blind spot about that gap. For the longest time, we just thought of the Dunning-Kruger effect as this quirky personal flaw, an interesting little tidbit about an individual. And this is the whole point of our explainer. That is not the world we live in anymore. This thing has mutated. It's gone from a bug in our personal software to a core feature of our entire communication infrastructure. So how on earth did that happen? Well, it happened because the system was built that essentially treats our brains like a factory. We really need to stop thinking of social media as some kind of digital town square. That's not what it is. It's a confidence factory, and it is ruthlessly designed to mass produce and ship unearned certainty around the globe. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. This is not some accident. The algorithms running the show aren't neutral observers. They've built an entire ecosystem that is optimized for and actively rewards premature certainty. They didn't just hand a megaphone to the overconfident guy in the corner. They built in the stage, they sold all the tickets, and they cranked the volume up to 11. Think about it. Real learning is slow. It's messy. It involves doubt and research and, actually changing your mind. But social media just completely collapses that process. You get a tiny flicker of an idea, you instantly turn it into a post, and bam, the algorithm rewards you for being fast and certain. And we love that feeling. It feels great to be sure of something in a world that's so complicated. But that last, most important step, the part where you actually learn, it just gets left in the dust. The system rewards the performance of knowledge, not actually having it. Now, this confidence factory, it isn't just one big machine. It's more like an assembly line. Different platforms are like different stations, and each one adds its own special twist, its own unique distortion to the final product. Let's break this down a bit. Take TikTok. The super short video format forces everything to be compressed, which just obliterates nuance. Expertise isn't about evidence anymore. It's an aesthetic. It's about having good lighting and slick edits. Then you've got Instagram, where the key distortion is status. A fitness influencer with 2 million followers suddenly thinks they're an expert on global economics. Their authority in one area gets mistaken for expertise in everything else. And then there's Facebook. Its secret sauce is reinforcement. Bad ideas get trapped in these little group echo chambers, and they just get repeated over and over until the whole group starts to mistake their consensus for actual correctness. Okay, so What's the big deal? So what if a few people are confidently wrong on the internet? Who really cares? Well, when you scale that up to billions of people day in and day out, it starts to have a very real and very high price for all of us. The single biggest casualty in this whole system is something called epistemic humility. It's a fancy term, but it's a simple idea. It's the core of real expertise. It's that little voice of caution that allows someone to say, I'm not so sure, or, well, it's complicated, or even, you know what, I might be wrong. Real experts say this stuff constantly, but on social media, that kind of nuance gets you nowhere. The algorithm actively punishes it. So bit by bit, it gets scrubbed from our public conversations. So what happens when you get rid of that humility? You get what's called epistemic degradation. We, the audience, we get so used to these short, simple, confident takes that we just lose our patience for anything complex. We literally start to forget what actual expertise, with all its messy details and caveats, even sounds like. And worse, we start to see that caution not as wisdom, but as weakness. And this brings us to the really scary part. This is the moment the Dunning-Kruger effect stops being a funny little joke about some silly person and becomes a full-blown structural failure of the very systems we use to get our information. The punchline isn't just on one person anymore. It's on all of us because the system itself is broken. And these are the consequences in the real world. Our public discourse just becomes angry and polarized because the simple, confident answers are always going to feel better than the complicated true ones. We start making huge life decisions about our health, our finances, our politics based on the scaled up misinformation. All because we've been trained day after day to value confidence way more than competence. So all of this leads us to the fundamental question, right? The core dilemma that this entire system forces every single one of us to face. And you have to understand this. The system is not broken. It is working perfectly. It is designed to do exactly this. It's designed to select for people who barely understand a topic, to explain it with total certainty to an audience that has been trained to not even know how to spot the difference. It's a perfect self-sustaining cycle of ignorance at scale, which leaves us with this final, really unsettling question. If the very architecture of our digital world is built to reward confidence over correctness, if it's designed to punish the humility that is the bedrock of genuine understanding, then what tools do we even have left to figure out what's actually true? Until platforms penalize unwarranted certainty and audiences relearn how to value intellectual restraint, overconfidence will remain the dominant signal, and ignorance will continue to masquerade as insight, delivered with perfect lighting and absolute conviction. Make no mistake, social networks do influence our behavior in other situations. At work and with friends and family. Look carefully, and you will notice it in co-workers, friends, and family. The rise of populism we see all around us has everything to do with the lack of critical thinking. Australia has recently forbidden the use of social networks by people under the age of 16. The European Union seems to be going down the same road. Will it help? Probably, if you are younger than 16 years old. But I don't think the real problem is with young teenagers. The algorithms and the money they generate for the tech bros that rule the world are the real issue. We should probably be studying and legislating on those, not the minimum age of consumers they can reach. Just saying.